Hello, and welcome to the Gameplay Cast's review for the roguelike Loop Hero. Developed by 4 Quarters and published by Devolver Digital in 2021, Loop Hero is a mix between a deck builder, a roguelike, and a strategy RPG. So even before the get-go, it's an intriguing mix of elements. One of the twists is that you don't really control your main character. He or she automatically loops around a randomly generated circular dungeon path, hence the loop part of the title. It's the player's job to equip their character and play cards from the card deck to rebuild the world surrounding the dungeon. This adds bonuses to the character's stats while also introducing monsters that need to be defeated. For defeating monsters and completing loops, the character will get deck cards and equipment. Once enough cards have been played, the level boss is summoned and must then be defeated. If at any point the player dies and has no respawns, then that expedition is over and you have to start again, losing most of your resource haul. Between expeditions, the player can use the gathered resources to build and improve their home camp, which grants things like power increases, upgrades and extra cards for the expedition deck. The overall goal of the game is to discover why the world has been destroyed, and then try to rebuild it. We've now looped around, see what I did there, to the big question. Is it worth parting with your real world gold? I'm only joking. I think this is an easy yes, and coming up is my justification, as well as Loop Hero's final score out of 10. The most immediately striking thing about this game is its visual styling. The pixel art is beautiful and really gives the game that retro arcade feeling. The black backgrounds being filled with the bright pixel tiles and animations plays well with the game's theme, and I found it to be a really striking game, and of course clear evidence of the fact that games do not need photorealism to make them good. This is a beautiful game, so top marks from me in this regard. The pixel artists really earned their keep here.
Most impressive.
Like all good roguelikes, Loop Hero keeps you wanting to come back for more. Despite the grindy side of the game, which I'll touch on in the next section, Loop Hero gets in your bloodstream quick, and you soon find yourself lost in the game as just one more loop becomes 50. I think the hook is a combination of the interesting mix of gameplay, the mystery of the plot, and the sprinkling of RPG mechanics that let you just get that little bit further each time. It is certainly an intriguing mix, more akin to a strategy deck builder than a standard roguelike, and I must admit that I'm not an avid fan of roguelikes, having only dabbled in games like Dead Cells, Hades, and old school games like Maximus. Shout out to Retro Ghouls and Ghosts. But this game held my interest more than most and kept me motivated to beat the game, which I did after something stupid like 50 hours, which for a game that's relatively small and simple is a real testament. What I like about it most is the balancing act of playing the right number of perks and monster cards so that your hero is strong enough to beat the loop and get some good drops while avoiding being overwhelmed and ending up back at square one. I generally found the challenge level pretty good, and I enjoyed the process of discovering which cards worked well and which had bonus effects if placed next to one another. For example, putting vampires next to villagers was awesome, and I loved the little hints hidden in the game dialogue. Outside of the expedition loops, you must rebuild your home camp using the resources you gather. The RPG mechanics here add some much needed variety to the game and allow you to unlock additional classes, 3 in total, as well as extra cards, bonuses and abilities. It's fairly limited in scope, but essential if you wish to defeat the loop bosses. On a change of topic, I also really loved the retro arcade music that reminded me of my old Game Boy and SNES. They might not be everyone's cup of tea, but I find these types of tunes quite relaxing and immersive.
It is a gift.
What I don't like about this game is the over-reliance on repetition in order to progress and complete each loop, which I also think is done to pad out the completion time. Yes, I know it's a roguelite, so repetition is a given, but after completing each loop, I ended up just grinding out 10 to 20 loop expeditions to harvest resources. Otherwise it was a slog to make any progress in the next area.
What's your point, Vanessa?
For me, once I conquered a loop, I no longer had much trouble defeating the boss again, or just letting the character run round and round, pausing occasionally to upgrade equipment and deal a few cards. The point being that I was no longer actively playing the game, I was just letting it run to harvest resources. And I find little to no satisfaction in doing this, and it just felt like I was waiting around for the more meaningful and challenging runs. I don't know, I think there's a fine balance between a sense of achievement and needless grinding, and this feels just a touch too much on the needless grinding side, and as such detracts from the experience. I think this is the issue with not really having any active game mechanics, instead relying on the card play, which is a novel concept and works when you are actively trying to defeat a loot boss, but outside of this, it kinda feels grindy. Maybe that's just me again, because I'm not a massive player of online card games. I'm sure some people will be saying, yes, but that's just it. You can just leave the game to loop and come back every so often. To that, I would say, I really don't see the point of a game that is effectively playing itself. I think a potential solution could have been to lean into this a bit more and allow players to set auto expeditions for resource gathering via the camp, so that some resource gain could be done passively, or maybe even throw in a few minigames, alternate game modes, or challenges that offer bonus resources and rewards, so that I had more motivation to actively engage with each of my expeditions. The other thing that really annoyed me whilst playing this was the level up system, where 3 perks are chosen at random from the upgrade deck. I think I understand that they were trying to add a degree of variety to each loop, but these options drastically affect the success rate. So I'd rather have just been able to choose a bonus after each level and not have the element of chance here. Outside of these 2 niggles, there wasn't much else that marred my enjoyment. Some people might find the lack of proper tutorials a negative, but I'm firmly in the old school camp that believe part of the enjoyment of a game is figuring out how it works and then how to beat it. And nothing was so overly complicated that it needed a hugely in-depth tutorial in any case. Putting all this together, what have we got? Well, I stand by my critique of the elements that I found frustrating. Grinding for the sake of grinding is never an enjoyable experience, but as long as the reward is worth the wait, then I can get over it. Here, I'm not sure that it always is. I think a few additional elements, such as expedition challenges for extra rewards/resources, or some mini-games, etc., could have really helped. That said, the game is a very intriguing mix, and I'd be lying if I said it didn't hook me in and keep me playing. I mean, in the first 2 weeks of owning the game, I managed to clock up over 40 hours. So overall, it was definitely an enjoyable, fun experience. For me personally, I got the most pleasure from building up a play strategy for each of the 3 classes, and learning how to use/unlock the best cards for their expeditions. The RPG side of the game in the camp is probably the weakest part of the game, where most of the requirement for resource grinding is created. That said, these mechanics do add variety and grounding to the relentlessness of the expedition loops. It's fine, I just think it could have been a little bit better. Overall then, the gameplay is solid enough despite a few minor niggles. I really love the pixel visual styling and retro arcade sound. Therefore, I award the game a well-earned 7 out of 10. Something I haven't mentioned until now is the price point, which is a rather reasonable £13, that's 17 US, but is regularly on offer for £4, around $6, which is the price I paid for it. And with that in mind, it, I'm upping the score to an 8 out of 10, and giving it the all-new Gameplay Cast's seal of approval. It's a good to very good game at a fantastic price point, and therefore it deserves heaps of praise. Loop Hero is also on Xbox Game Pass at the moment, so if you have a subscription, it's well worth checking out. It's also an excellent game to play while you listen to your favourite podcast. Anyway, that is all you get, and as always, Erebus.